What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about how you can go from the worst wide receiver on your team to the best wide receiver on your team. We're going to be talking about everything about the wide receiver position: catching, route running, press releases, and speed and agility, and giving you some tips and ideas that could take you to the next level. So the first thing we're going to be discussing, you guys, is your press releases off the line of scrimmage. Now, a lot of times worse wide receivers or not as talented wide receivers on teams don't maybe have the fastest press releases, and they're not able to actually sell their press releases with their hips, which is what will get them locked up against a more talented DB. I think a lot of times versus like DBs who aren't the most talented, not the most eye disciplined, it's very easy to get off a press, but versus disciplined guys, bigger guys, stronger guys, these are the things that will help you out. So first and foremost, what we don't want to do is we don't want to just step with my releases. There's a lot of content on social media that different trainers will post where they show like guys working on releases and they'll just have them like step really hard, but there's no movement from their hips. A disciplined DB is not looking up here, and he's definitely not looking at your feet. He's keyed in on your hips. So if you're trying to work like a jab step in this direction and you step, but your hips never move off the line, that's not going to get that DB to jump. Now, a lot of times guys will do that, but when they sell the move, they're very, very slow with the move, and that's also not going to get a disciplined DB as well. You need speed, explosiveness with your releases, but you also need to be able to sell with your hips. So there's going to be a simple thing that you could do as a receiver to help with that, and that's adding something called a kick step to your releases. So a kick step is with your back foot, and what you want to do is you want to step quickly behind your front foot. It is a very quick step, and you got to make sure that you keep some weight into your front foot. A lot of receivers, when they do this, they pop up, and that will actually decrease your speed. You want to try to keep a lot more weight, like probably about 70% of your weight into your front foot, and you pretend that there is a bug directly behind your front foot, and all you're trying to do is step on the bug. But what that does is that creates some quickness, and it creates some, like, I guess you could say, explosiveness with this quick step to allow you to throw into the release. Now, the reason why it helps with selling the release is because when you take that kick step, you are loading your hips up, and it allows you to push almost off of this front foot, so your hip can go with your foot when you are selling your release. So we don't want to be that guy that's just step and then go. We want to have a lot more speed and a lot more explosion, and that kick step is a great way to do that. Now, a lot of coaches will say that that's a false step. It's not a false step if it's a part of the release. Don't do that versus zone coverage or off man. Just go get up into your route. But if you got a guy right in front of you, you could do a kick step into a move. You could do a kick step into a 1-2, but it just helps you create more speed and helps you sell with your hips, which will help you against more talented DBs. Now, fellas, before we get into some other tips for your catching, your speed, and your route running, if you're a wide receiver and you would like a 2-month-long workout schedule that you can follow in the gym and on the field, go to that very first link in the description below where you could get access to our Elite Wide Receiver Training Package. It's 2 months of full workouts that wide receivers should be doing in the gym and with their route running and catching on the field. We map out every single drill and exercise with the exact sets and reps. It's in a schedule for you, so it's very easy to follow Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And we also include speed training within that plan. So with every single exercise, guys, we have a video example of it, so you know exactly what to do and how to perform the workout and how to perform the drill. So if you guys go to that very first link in the description below, that is where you can get access to our Elite Wide Receiver Training Package. So again, guys, very first link in that description below. Let's get back to this video. Now, one of the things that not so talented wide receivers are not able to do versus more so talented wide receivers on their team is catch up to deep passes downfield and have like deep ball skills, if you will. So when we were running downfield, a lot of times what our receivers will have is they'll have early hands rather than having late hands, which is why that ball on deeper throws just continues to bounce in front of you. It's almost like you're not catching up to it. So a lot of times, especially like not as advanced wide receivers or newer wide receivers will be running, that ball's in the air, and as soon as they see it start to come down, they start to show their hands and extend out. We don't want to do that, you guys, because imagine if you're racing a guy and you guys are the exact same speed, but he's able to pump his arms and you have to run with your arms like this. He's going to beat you 10 times out of 10 because your arms factor into speed, right? So you got to trust your eyes on a deep pass. You want your arms to be going, and when that ball starts to come down, you want to keep your arms pumping, and you want to catch this thing almost chest level, like maybe a little bit above your waist. That's called being late. You want to have late hands. Is that late hand, not only the DB who's on your hip, he won't be able to know where to play the ball, but it'll help you catch up to those passes where the quarterback puts it downfield. You want to tell your quarterbacks on deep throws, hey, put it out there, I'll go get it, but you're not going to be able to get it if you start showing your hands early. So to improve your catching skills downfield, you need to make sure that you have late hands to be that best wide receiver one on your team. Now, one of the most important elements of the wide receiver position is obviously speed. I think that's, especially at the high school level, middle school level, one of the biggest differences, I guess you could say, from like a wide receiver one to like a wide receiver receiver 5 or 6 is their speed. Obviously, the top tier guy who we're going to be a deep threat downfield, we want to hit him on quick game passes, need to have some speed, right? So one of the common mistakes that I feel a lot of young wide receivers make is they run extremely flat-footed. Now, I think that's common sense for most of you. Most of you probably know that when you run, what part of your foot should hit the ground. It's definitely not your heel. You don't want to sprint and go heel-toe because you're going to be flat out slow. You want to be on the ball of your foot. Now, I think a lot of athletes run on the ball of their foot, but they have very weak ankles, which causes their heel to cave down. So it's almost like they strike the ground, but then their heel caves and they're not able to drive and push off of this leg to drive their other knee up. Essentially, when it comes to speed, you want to be on the ball of your foot. You want to have a slight gap between the ground and between your heel, so you could push off of the ball of your foot and drive the opposite knee up. Now, to be able to do that, that requires a lot of ankle stability, ankle strength, and also foot strength plays a role. So how many of you guys have seen that Buffalo Bills wide receiver train without shoes on? That's working foot strength, and he has proper foot strike when he runs because he doesn't have cleats on and he doesn't have shoes on. A lot of times cleats and shoes will bail us out. So how do we work on that ankle stability? How do we get better with that? And it's honestly coming down to doing like single leg exercises, and I recommend doing like single leg jumping exercises. I know with a lot of receivers that I train who struggle with this, when they run, they strike the ground, heel caves. I have them literally take their cleats off, stand on just one foot, and I have them just jump for like 10 seconds, and they're not allowed to have their heel hit the ground. And that improves ankle strength. So doing any type of single leg exercise, jumping exercise where you're not allowed to be on your heels, taking the cleats off and doing those exercises without cleats on will strengthen your ankle, strengthen your calf, strengthen your foot, and make you a more athletic wide receiver. And if you have more speed at the receiver position, that's how you can become a better wide receiver 1. Now, fellas, let's talk top of the route. So I think one of the main mistakes that wide receivers will make at the top of the break that kind of makes them slower out of their cuts, not the best wide receiver on their team, is a concept of dead hands. I think, again, a lot of receivers see a lot of different things on social media. They see a lot of different videos of different trainers posting things, but pay attention to the elite, like top tier guys in the NFL who run routes, who have smooth breaks, who get in and out of their breaks. Their hands at the top of the route, like let's say, for example, I'm running a curl route, right? Quarterback's over to my left. I'm running a curl going back towards him. We never want to get into the break and briefcase it and go dead hands. Now, why people teach that, I mean, I personally don't like it, but why people teach that is because when your hands go dead, your feet are going to stop and you'll be able to stop quicker. Now, again, if you're running like a 5-yard hitch, maybe like a 12-yard stop where you just have to stop and turn around and the ball's there, maybe that's fine because you'll be able to maybe stop quicker. But on a curl, a comeback, a dig, most routes where you have to drop your hips, sometimes an out route, you have to be able to run and get out of the break, right? So if you're going up into this break and your hands go dead and your feet go dead, then it's like, I got to start back up again, and that's wasted time at the top of the route. What you want to do, and pay attention to all top tier wide receivers who do this. Who's got some of the smoothest routes? Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, you look at a guy like Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, all these top tier guys, they never change their hands. Their hands are natural. They don't get to the break and they don't beat the drum either. Beating the drum wastes time as well because now you're adding on too many steps. You just want to keep your hands natural. What gets you in and out of the break is the change of your center of gravity, the hip drop. So if I'm running a curl, my focus is dropping, and as soon as I drop my hips, my next focus is how quickly can I get my hips out of there to go get back to the quarterback, get to my spot, wherever the play requires me to be. So guys, don't go dead hands. Keep your hands natural so your feet stay active. And I'm not asking for a million steps. I'm just asking for your feet to stay active so you can get out this break efficiently and as fast as possible. One of the biggest differences between great wide receivers and not so great receivers, a lot of people can sell vertical, a lot of people can run routes, but what separates those top tier from mid tier guys? And the top tier guys have great speed and they're smooth out of their breaks, and a lot of that has to do with your hands.